This story is about a mysterious and eerie place called the Black Forest. There are dark rumors about this place, and until now, no one knew what was going on in the Black Forest. However, Jake was able to find out this terrible secret and tell people about it. Jake Ridder and Mike Thorns have been friends since childhood. They grew up in the small town of Black Rock in northern Montana, where every man knew a thing or two about hunting. This year, they decided to go further than usual, deep into the Black Rock Forest. Everyone knew there was a lot of wildlife there, and the hunting should be great. "Did you hear what the old men said?" Jake asked, throwing his backpack into the back of the truck. "They say people are disappearing out there." Mike snorted, adjusting his cap. "It's nothing. It's just a big forest, and city hikers get lost. We're not like that." The friends were sure that with 2 men and guns, they had nothing to fear. They drove down a dirt road into the forest. When the road ended, they stopped. They took their things from the back of the car, locked it, and continued on foot. Jake and Mike came to a narrow path and followed it deep into the forest. The air was thick with the smell of pine needles and damp earth. The sun was barely breaking through the dense crowns of the trees. The deeper they went, the quieter it became. No birds, no animals. "It's weird," Jake muttered, looking around. "It's like nothing lives here." "So the deer won't run away," Mike grinned. By late afternoon they had made camp, setting up 2 tents and building a fire. Jake couldn't shake the strange feeling that someone was watching them. "Tomorrow we'll go north," Mike said, looking at the map. "There should be trails there." Jake nodded, but his gaze slid to the darkness beyond the circle of light from the fire. For a moment, he thought he saw a shadow flicker between the trees. In the morning, as the sun rose, the friends awoke, ate breakfast, picked up their weapons, and headed into the thicket. The sun hardly penetrated through the dense crowns of trees, and soon the landmarks on the map did not coincide with reality. "Are you sure we're going the right way?" Jake asked, wiping the sweat from his forehead. Mike didn't answer. "Mike?" Jake turned around. His friend had disappeared. "Mike!" he shouted, but the forest swallowed his voice. There was no answer, however, only silence all around, only echoes, as if taunting him. Jake tried to find his friend. He had traveled miles in search of his best friend. He darted between the trees, calling, shooting into the air. No answer. By nightfall, exhausted, he returned to camp. He hoped Mike was already there. However, his friend's tent stood untouched. "Where are you?" Jake whispered, clenching his fists. He had stayed up all night, listening for every rustle. When dawn broke, Jake decided to go looking for Mike again. He walked for hours, until his legs began to shake with fatigue. It was getting dusk when he noticed a thin trickle of smoke rising from between the trees. His heart began to beat faster. He moved into the light. An old log cabin peeked through the thicket. The windows glowed with a warm yellow light, as if inviting him inside. Jake knocked. The door was opened by a tall, elderly man with grey hair and deep wrinkles on his face. His eyes were pale. "Come in, son," he said hoarsely. Night was no time to wander through the woods. Jake walked into the cabin, took off his backpack, and set it in the corner with his rifle. Inside, he smelled of smoke, herbs, and meat. Delicious, succulent. "I was just preparing dinner," the old man said, pointing to a steaming pot. "Sit down and share a meal with me." Jake, hungry, did not refuse. The meat in his plate was delicious, tender, and succulent. "I'm looking for a friend. He disappeared yesterday," Jake said. The old man nodded slowly. "The Black Forest is a dangerous place. They say a lot of people have gone missing here. If you stay the night, I'll help you look for your friend tomorrow." Jake thanked him, but something inside him clenched into a cold ball. After a delicious dinner, the old man cleared the table. Then he pointed Jake to the narrow bed that stood in the corner of the hut. Jake lay down on the bed, but sleep wouldn't come. He tried for a long time to fall asleep, but the feeling of uneasiness wouldn't leave him. Something was wrong. He tossed and turned until he heard the floorboards creak. Turning on his side, Jake saw the old man come out of the hut. Curiosity overcame fear. Jake got out of bed and looked around the room. There was a pile of rags in the far dark corner of the shack. He picked up one of the items, and his heart stopped. It was Mike's tattered sweater, with dried red stains on it. An axe with red stains and dark undercurrents stood nearby. Jake was startled and trembled. Immediately he looked down and saw a trapdoor in the floor beneath his feet. The edges of the hatch were covered in maroon dried drops. He hadn't noticed this hatch before. His hands trembled, but he decided to open it, and when he lifted it, he wanted to scream. Down in the cellar there were bones, and some of the carcass, and then Jake realized what he'd just eaten. What delicious, juicy, tender meat it was. Jake rushed to his gun and backpack, but they weren't there. He rushed out of the cabin, terrified. His legs shook, but he ran. He ran until he fell, and then he heard heavy footsteps behind him. The old man was following him, slow, as if he knew Jake wouldn't run away. "You weren't supposed to see that. Now you won't get away," the old man whispered close behind him. His heart was pounding so hard, it felt like it was going to burst in his chest. Jake couldn't see the road, but instinct drove him forward. Suddenly the ground was out from under his feet, and he tumbled down the ravine, hitting the rocks with a painful thud. His mind went blank for a moment, but fear flooded back into him. He jumped up and ran on, not realizing which way he was going. He ran all night. When the first rays of sunlight broke through the fog, Jake saw a road. Frightened and confused, he crawled toward the road, where he was picked up by a passing truck. The driver, seeing his crazy eyes, drove him straight to the sheriff's station. Jake, panting, told him about the cabin and the old man and the meat dinner. "Do you know who this man is?" Jake shouted, clutching the table with trembling hands. The sheriff slowly lit a cigarette, looking at him with a kind of strange regret. "Ezra Coulter. He's been living in those woods longer than anyone can remember. Why wasn't he apprehended? Because no one knows where his cabin is, and no one's ever come back from that place. No one at all." The sheriff sighed heavily. Jake froze. "I'm back." The sheriff looked at him with a long, hard stare. "Yeah, you're the first." And there was something in his eyes that made Jake's blood run cold again. Because the forest always takes its toll. And with Jake gone, then someone else has to take his place.